Peace, everybody. Speed Science Boxing Academy. We back with another video. Alright, man. So, I was watching Pro Box TV with Chris Algieri, Pauli Malignaggi, and Sean Porter, and they were on there explaining how Ryan Garcia was able to pass his testing during the training camp leading up to the Devin Haney fight, but failed to test the day of and the day prior to the fight. And this is important because there's people on this panel, especially Chris Algieri, like they're trainers and they know the ins and outs of the sports and certain supplements that people use to try to hide certain things that they do to give them the edge in fights like these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this video play of Pauli Malignaggi telling you how Ryan was able to cipher off the PEDs in the system, not getting caught during the training camp but getting caught afterwards, and I'll come back with my final thoughts at the end.
Here's the way it works, and I'm sure Chris also understands because Chris partially explained this to me as well. Here's how it works when you're microdosing. So you bigger dose off season, which is when there's no fights and nobody's getting tested because boxing is the Wild West and doesn't test in between fights. And then you're microdosing during camp. And when you're microdosing, it is trapped in the fat and therefore not going into your bloodstream. So therefore, it's harder to catch you. When a fighter struggles to make weight, sometimes they're losing all that fat and you get a little bit of tricklage coming out of the fat, and the drugs will come out in small spurts. That's why they're always caught in small doses. And people, the moronic part of the population will say, oh, that's not enough to help him. No, that's just the part that finally leaves.
The leftovers.
Yes, and because they struggle in weight, which is also a typical thing when you start to think about it, why guys keep moving up in weight. So there's less struggles when they're doping to make weight, and therefore they keep moving up in weight and keep showing no signs of weakening and no signs of aging and no signs of, we don't have to name names, this box is right for it, but nonetheless, now when I started to learn this part, because every single time a guy fails, I'm always asking questions and I'm always learning a little bit more. And this time, when it came to this microdosing situation, it's a big way to beat even the random drug tests, because it's not going to show up unless you're really training yourself. So therefore, it makes sense why guys keep moving up in weight. So Ryan was struggling to make the weight, and he failed right at the end. But he passed in the middle of camp. This kind of explanation is an explanation worth looking into when it comes to his failed B test, B sample. As for the lawyers, they're going to play lawyer and they're going to manipulate it as much as possible and mention that he passed those tests in the middle of camp. Well, I just explained to you in the method that microdosing works why he would have passed the tests in the middle of camp but failed at the very end. Because at the very end was when he was drained. Just remember, he was struggling to make weight. He was drained, and therefore the substances start coming out. Which also explains why he's now talking about fighting at welterweight, junior middleweight, super middleweight against Benavidez. You also get a little bit of sense of why he would do that as well, if this is the case. So once you know how the science of it works, you start to really put things together. You can reach your own conclusions. If you want to be a groupie, you can and reach no conclusions. But I'm the person who's going to keep thinking about not just fighters now, like Ryan, but also fighters in the past, fighters that have failed, fighters that have not failed, and so on and so forth. Really puts a light bulb over the situation.
And Pauli is absolutely right, 100%. Like, I usually don't agree with Pauli Malignaggi, especially over the last few years. Like, we have had a lot of disagreements on the state of boxing and particular politics and certain fighters in the sport. But in this particular case, I do agree with him because he's absolutely right. And just like he said, you won't really catch it because they're using it in spurts and it's trapped in the muscles. But once you start draining weight, losing all that weight, and struggling losing it, it gets released. Remember, he came in at 143.2 pounds. He was having trouble losing weight. Like, when you start learning all this stuff, just like he said, it all starts to make sense. So all of the experts in the comment sections and everything, when I be reading them, because I do read the comments. I may not respond to certain comments and everything, but I do read them. I just be looking and laughing because you just can see that people just, what they be talking about, and it's just bias. And me, I'm a former professional myself, and more importantly, I'm a fan of the sport. I may like certain fighters over other fighters, but cheating is just a no-no regardless of who it is. It can be my favorite fighter. If you're a cheater, then you ain't nothing to me. Because like I said, this sport is brutal and cruel, and you don't need no extra help to help you get over, because it's already cruel enough as it is, pummeling each other over top of the head. Stuff that the body is really not meant to be doing anyway. So I take this real seriously. But that's what it is. And I'm glad that they did this panel, because you got people like Chris Algieri, who's an expert in teaching people like Pauli and Sean Porter and all the rest of them, and teaching us the ins and out and what goes on in the body and how you take these supplements and how it's traceable and how to beat the tests and random tests to try to get over it. Because once more and more people start to understand how all this stuff works behind the scene, then you'll start to figure out how people are starting to cheat, and then we won't be having all these speculations. But it is what it is. That's all I got for now, guys. Let me know what y'all think. Drop your comments down below. Make sure I hit the like, subscribe, and hit the bell. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.